thank you for joining me for another episode of YQG in Bloom. My name is Tracy Martins, and this evening I am with Lori Moore, who is the owner, creator, and everything seamstress for Auden Steward clothing, fashions. I love it. It's great. How you doing today?
Good, good. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, I love your clothes. Now, the beauty of Lori's clothes is they're genderless.
Yes.
And I really like that. That's kind of why I wore a hoodie and ripped jeans, because for the most part, when people think of genderless, they just think of stuff like this. And you have some beautiful, amazing fabrics and designs. So what made you go into doing these types of things?
That's a good question. I kind of thought the same thing too, right? When you think of genderless, you think sweatshirts and sweatpants and jeans, things like that. Yeah. Really things I think have been changing in fashion, and those sort of, people are questioning sort of those gender norms, right? And I think now fashion is sort of maybe catching up to what's happening in society as well too. And why should, people that identify as female have all the fun, right? I think anybody should be able to dress however they want. So it's all about having an attitude and dressing for style as opposed to just dressing for your gender.
Now, how long have you been creating the genderless line?
It's been a really short time.
Yeah.
I started a couple years ago just with kind of like building my research and kind of like figuring out the marketplace. And then last year, at the end of the school year, I teach as well. I had a couple of students who caught me sort of like sketching out some different ideas and things. And they really kind of pushed me and encouraged me to start doing that. So I launched my fall collection. So you can see a few pieces from that last August, at the end of August. And then I'm getting ready to launch my spring collection very shortly.
That's great. Now, you said you're a teacher at St. Clair?
Yes, I'm teaching in the fashion design technician program.
And what program is that part of? Is that part of the media arts? Or
it is part of the media arts and design section, but we're at the South Campus. So instead of being downtown with everybody else, we're kind of on our own. So we're in the engineering building there.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
And how is the attendance? Like, is there a lot of people that are signing up?
We're a pretty small program. We either run 1 or 2 sections a semester.
Okay.
So typically in the fall, we load a lot more students. So we'll be a couple of sections, and then, stuff happens over the semester, right? It is a super challenging program. So a lot of times we'll end up getting a little bit smaller. Plus also our students, by the time they get to that second semester, they're a little more familiar with the work, and they can kind of fly on their own a little bit more, so they don't need as much attention.
Yeah. Like, this is really artistic. So if you have a feel for it, as long as you have that foundation, and obviously they're getting a good foundation the first semester.
Exactly.
Now, have you been sewing all your life?
Pretty much as long as I can remember. So I started off sewing things by hand, and I was crafting, like doll clothes and things like that, which I think a lot of fashion designers kind of start that way, crafting other things. And then one summer I was going to be going into home ec. That was when they still taught home ec in school. My mom said, you need to learn how to use the sewing machine, because I was sort of like deathly afraid of it. And then ever since I, put my foot on that pedal, I haven't gone back. Now, I still really enjoy the hand sewing and like specialty kind of techniques, but the machine is just so much faster.
Yeah, it's true, because I learned how to sew in home ec.
Okay. Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And my husband bought me a sewing machine, and it's been so many years since I've sewn that it's sat here now for a few years, because I'm kind of scared of it.
It can be a little bit scary.
It is a little overwhelming, and plus I know that how much I used to enjoy it, that it's like,
you can get hooked.
I'm going to get hooked. I know that. So I'm trying to finish off some things, but I've already got fabric ready, and
oh, that's great.
I'm going to get there.
I think it's one of those skills that people should learn how to do, even if it's not something that you want to do as a profession or that you find that you really enjoy. It's just a good life skill to have, being able to stitch on a button, being able to repair a hem, things like that. Like, part of my collection is also to be sustainable. So learning how to repair your own clothes and being able to make them last. That's really important as well too.
That really is. And you also, I'm just going to read on here.
Sure.
Now, you use and reuse eco-friendly fabrics.
Yes. So a lot of my fabrics right now are things that you consider dead stock. So they're overages that, fabric companies have produced and they have extra that they're not going to sell to someone, or ends from designers who've already created their collection and then they have extra fabric left over because they overestimated. So could end up in a landfill. There's some conversation about dead stock. Is it really eco-friendly or not? But, it's still better than buying completely brand new.
Well, it is. It is eco-friendly because, it's, like you said, it's not going in the landfill.
Yeah.
Now, how do you find this?
How do I find it? I did a lot of digging and research. There's a few companies out of Vancouver. They do have retail shops, so they cater a little bit more to like the home sewers. So some of the quantities are small, so that's why you see just like a smattering of bits and pieces. So I will end up doing a lot of prints and different designs just to get enough, sort of quantity.
Okay. Now, what do you mean when it says, because I was looking online and it says zero waste patterns. What is that?
Okay, so zero waste patterning is a way of taking all the various pattern pieces. So, a shirt might have a sleeve and a front and a back, maybe a collar, some other components, taking those pattern pieces and forming them in a way that you can lock them in. So it's sort of like creating almost like a jigsaw puzzle. And so most markers, when they lay them out, so they lay out a pattern and they're producing them, usually a good usage is considered to be about 80%. So that means like 20% of what's on the table being cut is getting cast off, right? And thrown in the garbage probably and going to a landfill. So my aim is to try to utilize 100% of the fabric. So I do have a few patterns that are fully 100%. So like the tote bags, things like that.
Which I'm going to stop her right now. Her tote bags are really, really cute. And she even has her label in them. It's lovely. I love
that
this
one's
tote
actually
bag.
made from like thrifted fabric. So I do use some fabrics as well that I find at the thrift store. So again, things that might have been, someone's project or whatever that we're just going to end up in the garbage, but ended up at your local thrift store, and then I take it and then upcycle it and turn it into something.
I was looking on your website, and you also told me you used to have a bridal shop.
I did, yeah. So
now, did you sew those?
Yes. Yeah. So I had a partner in the business. We had a shop downtown called Hello Beautiful. We mostly did custom work, but we did also have like a retail shop. Like a lot of small businesses, the pandemic happened, and that kind of like was really tough on anybody that worked in that sort of events kind of community. So we did transition to going online. So we do still have an online shop.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, but I haven't been doing the custom anymore. But yeah, I was making the patterns and sewing. It is there if people want. Yes, yeah.
Did you enjoy making wedding gowns?
I do. There's a little bit of stress though, especially over the pandemic. With all the restrictions and because we were doing custom, we were right sort of in people's faces.
Yeah.
Doing fittings and pinning and things like that. So that was a little bit stressful. I do like creating bridal. Like I said before, I really like the hand technique, so beading and embroidery, things like that.
All the tedious things.
All the tedious stuff, yeah. The stuff that my business partner didn't really enjoy. But, I wouldn't mind getting back to that at some point. But for now, this is sort of my passion, right? Keeping me creative.
You brought some beads.
I did.
Here. Now, these don't look like your average beads.
No, they are not. So what they are recycled paper beads, or I guess you could call them upcycled. So it was a craft that I actually learned when I went to camp, again, many eons ago. So what you do is you take the strips of magazines. So it's a way to creatively reuse them.
Oh, yes.
You cut them into like kind of long triangular sort of strips, and then you roll them up, just like making a crescent roll, right, or a croissant. And then you glue them together, and then I apply like a non-toxic like shellac to them. So they're not like, I wouldn't say do your dishes while wearing them, but they are water resistant.
So it's just like this, lovely bracelet that you made, and I thought it was all beads. I had no idea that this was upcycled
I mean, there's
paper.
addition of some metal beads as well in there too, just to add like a little sparkle, because my whole sort of spring collection is all about sparkle. So
is this material part
yeah,
of the
so
spring
these are some
collection?
of the fabrics that we have here. So lots of variety, right?
Oh.
So we've got some different,
You can
over this way, some prints and some other solids. So a lot of pastels. There's some kind of sparkle, like a chambray with a little bit of sparkle. We've got some sequins as well too, right? So going back to my bridal roots, I suppose.
But you know, almost like the disco.
Yeah.
Well, and
It's exactly what I was going for. So it's meant to be kind of a nod to like that 70s kind of disco era, but without being so over the top, right?
But
And
you kn-
costumey.
it's coming back.
Yeah.
We just got a
It's
disco
totally coming back.
in
Yeah.
Windsor. So.
Exactly, right? So everything comes back around, right?
It really does.
Some laces, right, with some florals, and then this sort of
Ooh,
like
that's
circular
really
one,
pretty.
right, too. So like a soft kind of blue. So again, sort of bending those sort of gender norms, right? And pairing those with people that identify they're female, they're male, you know, non-binary, anybody can wear them.
Okay, we're back. I had to finagle my way over, but since we just showed you some of the pattern or the material from
Yes.
your spring line, like this, okay, I thought this was a skirt, and they're
It's a short, so
Oh my
we can unclip it if you want,
yes.
and then you can kind of take a look.
those
So-
are so cute.
Yeah. So it's like a little kind of like flat waist in the front with a pocket. So one of the
Oh, and
features
then
I
you
try
have
to
the-
add are pockets, but a lot of times I end up with one just because that's sort of what fits on the marker. And then it has like a cute, I don't know if I can get that up there in the camera, but it has like a cute little drawstring. So I always try to build in like intentional kind of design elements that allow it to like adjust in terms of size, right? Because I'm trying to accommodate all different people, right? Different genders. So fit might be a little bit different for different body types. So that way you can adjust it a little bit.
It's more comfortable when it's baggy. I'm
Right?
sorry.
Exactly. Especially in the summertime, you want something like cool and breezy.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
yeah.
Now, something like the pair of shorts. What is the price point for?
I'm still working on the costing, but typically,
Okay.
so any of the fall pants that I did, they were kind of in the 150 to 200 range. So kind of talking like a better price point. So it's not as high as like a designer or a couture type of label,
No.
but it's also not, you know, like a mall type of shop or something like that.
No, because they're all individual.
Exactly, right?
And okay, this is
So we've got a
Fabulous.
cute, like, little
Oh my
halter top,
goodness.
right? Kind of really has that disco kind of
Oh.
feeling to it, right?
I love this.
Yeah.
That is so cute. I can see a few people wearing this.
And it's got, again, sort of like a wrap type of design, so that way it
Yes.
can adjust for different body types.
Oh,
Elastic in
yes.
the back too, right? So you can also adjust the size a little bit.
Oh, it is so pretty, and it's so nice, and I love
Silky,
the
like,
silky
comfy,
satiny.
right? Yeah.
They are beautiful. And then, ooh.
So we've got a couple
we're
of
going to
pieces
sassy
there.
bikini top here. Okay, that would definitely not fit.
Me neither. Me neither.
But that's cute. So I really like the wrap that would go over it. It's either a shirt or a wrap.
Exactly. So you can pair it however you want, right? Like
That
you
would
could
be
pair
a
this
cute-
with things you already have. You could pair it with your bikini top.
Right there with the
If you
fancy
feel
skirt.
comfortable, you could be bare chested underneath, right? And just tie it as well too. So lots of different options there.
These are
you.
really nice. Like I love
Fun
the
pockets, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this one's actually, it's cut as a square. But I don't know if you know what a circle skirt is.
Oh,
So
yeah.
usually it's, you know, it's like a full circle basically becomes your skirt. So when you lift up the skirt, it will come all the way up, you know, and meet up with your arms. So because there's a circle in the middle of it that gets cut out, then the pockets become the pieces from the center of the circle from the waist. So finding
That
like
is a great
creative ways
idea.
to use all the different areas of the fabric.
That is a great idea.
Thank you.
Now, hold on a minute. Okay, I'm back again, and now I have some from your fall collection
Yes.
that is still available.
Yes.
And
On sale right now, too,
On
by the way,
sale?
as well.
Oh.
Yes.
and what is your website?
It's Auden, hang on. It's audensteward.square.site.
site.
Yes.
Okay, and Auden is Auden, and Steward is Steward.
That's correct.
And there are special meanings for those words.
Yeah, so Auden is an English word, and its origins come from, it means old friend. So the idea of the collection was to create something that has some longevity in your wardrobe and something that also feels sort of comfortable, familiar, just like having a loyal old friend, right? So everything's made in like small batches, things that are well made, so that way you can keep them in your wardrobe for a long time. Sort of opposite to like what's happening in fast fashion, right? Where things are made maybe inexpensively, or maybe they're so cheap to buy that you just feel like you're going to toss them and only wear them for a while. So these hopefully will stay for a few seasons at least in your wardrobe, maybe for many years, right?
Oh, yes.
And then steward obviously comes from that idea of being like a steward of the planet, being environmentally responsible as well too. Kind of like the idea too that it's sort of a little bit on the masculine side. You know, I kind of tend to dress a little bit more feminine, and my designs do tend to lend towards that. So I wanted to kind of like have that play of that sort of idea of playing with gender as well too, and kind of, and even my tags too, right? They're like a navy blue with hints of pink and like magenta. So playing on that sort of duality of fashion as well.
It is really nice. And this, I love this hat. This hat is so cute. And on the inside, it's
just like a solid kind of twill lining inside. So there were pieces
really
that I had
cute.
from, like the inside is the same fabric that I used for some of the pants in the fall. And then the outside was all scrap pieces that I had left over. So again, I try to aim for 100% usage of the fabric, but sometimes in order to get a specific style, right, you have to kind of sacrifice sometimes. So then I try to utilize whatever scrap I have.
This
and
is
then
cute.
upcycle it. Yeah, so take all the like little patches and kind of meld them together.
That is something.
And create a new fabric.
Yeah, you can even use that in the summertime.
Yeah. Oh,
hat.
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I would keep that around year round.
Yeah. Right?
And you made this?
Yes. Yeah.
That had to have been hard to sew.
Not too bad, actually. It's pretty forgiving because it's got that sort of boucle kind of texture. You know, if my stitching is good, but if it's not so great, it kind of hides some of those little flaws. And just because it's stretchy too, it's kind of really easy to work with as well. And just cozy, right? And comfy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I knit and crochet, and I have tons of boucle yarn.
Yes.
And to try and knit with it,
it's hard to knit.
It has to be on a really good day because it's very frustrating. But this is really cute with the one pocket.
Yeah, so again, like the pocket comes from the neckline area, and then the facing on the pocket comes as well from the back neck.
Oh, and this is...
So it's like a cute little dress. It's got these like... Yeah, it's like a really fine kind of corduroy, so it's really soft and drapey. And then it has these sort of waist ties that you can tie around. So again, you can adjust the size, or maybe for styling, maybe you like a little tighter, maybe you like a little looser, so you can adjust it.
With the pockets?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that the pockets are a little lower.
Yes, yeah.
So that it gives it, if somebody's...
Try to position them so they're a little more functional, like where you would use them.
Well, and if somebody's a little taller, then...
Exactly, right, exactly.
That is... I really like that fabric. And then this matches.
Right?
I like this. And this, again, could be a summer.
Could be,
well,
right?
It's
a little
nice
more,
thin.
yeah, it's kind of transitional, right? So again, like built features into it, like the ties on the wrist. So then you could style it different ways. You can blouse it up. If your arms are a little shorter, a little thinner, you can tie it a little tighter, a little looser, however you need.
And then the cutest little buttons with, oh my gosh, they're all flowers, all different buttons. Which, I mean, if any of you sew, knit, do any crafts, you always have a button bin.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was one thing when my grand passed away, she had this big button bin, and it was like, I want that, because that was just the best thing to play with when you were little.
It's always the Danish butter cookies or something like that, right?
Yes. It's true. Yeah. Now, you learned to sew when you were in home ec, or did you know beforehand? Like,
I did a little bit of hand sewing and things. you know, my mom helped me and showed me how to do some of those things, but then I just sort of like took off from there. So I used to knit. I don't really knit so much anymore, but same thing, right? My mom gave me a few pointers and then I was like, ran with it, right? Like got super excited about it. And then I went to school as well too. So I studied fashion design. I went to, it's now Toronto Metropolitan University, so it was Ryerson when I went a million years ago, and studied fashion design there. So I also learned like more, you know, proper techniques and things.
But this wasn't your first thing
No,
in
it
school,
wasn't.
which this is what I wanted to know is how in the heck did you think of architecture when you've been sewing pretty much, you know, since high school?
I always drew things, right? So I would draw like city plans, I would draw fashions, I would draw floor plans, things like that. So a lot of times I would imagine my sewing studio and drawing it on a floor plan. So I did a little bit of both. And then when I went to high school, I took a architectural drafting class. So I really enjoyed that. So I kind of thought that fashion was not a career, honestly. I thought that it was more of a hobby. It was something that I did for fun, but I didn't necessarily think of it in terms of career. And I didn't really understand the, you know, plethora of jobs that are out there in fashion. So I kind of like got away from that and decided, okay, I'm going to do architecture. And I went, and some parts of it I enjoyed, some parts of it were not really for me. And then I was sort of floundering, thinking like, what am I going to do? And then I went to see the guidance there at the school that I was going to. They had me do one of those sort of aptitude tests, and everything like pointed towards like fashion. And even when I went for my interview to get into the architecture program, I showed a bunch of fashion drawings and like clothing. And they're like, well, why don't you do fashion? I said, but it's just a hobby for me. But, you know, long story short, I did the aptitude test. Someone told me there were openings at Ryerson, and I said, well, it's a big leap. And I went and I interviewed, and I think after I got accepted, I think I moved there like a couple of weeks later. So it was just like this whirlwind that happened. But, you know, think of how my life would have been so much different if I hadn't have pursued that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's great that you're actually being able to do your passion as a career and teach it to others as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Fashion, you can do it anywhere. It's I could understand back then that, you know, you could only do it if you were in New York or in Toronto or Vancouver or Los Angeles. They didn't really do that here, but the beauty of the internet and you know, you can do it and have sales here, have sales everywhere.
Well, and all the sources, like you just go online and you can find things. Whereas when I first started my career, if you weren't living in a big city, it was really hard to find, you know, notions that you needed or unique fabrics that you needed or have connections with people that could help you in the industry. But you're right, you can do it kind of anywhere.
If you put your mind to it. And just so you guys know, those aptitude tests actually do work.
They do actually work.
They may not work right at that moment, because mine always said back in the day that I should be working with people, I should be doing things with people. And I kept saying, I don't like customer service and I don't like people. This is all wrong. And I look back, and every job I've had from secretary on up to now has been people oriented.
Working with people. And now too, right? Like talking with people, basically. Yes.
Yes, my job now revolves around people, and I love it. I'm loving the fact that Windsor has become such a creative town where people are getting back into sewing and pottery and ceramics and knitting, crochet.
And I think a lot of that too also came out of that pandemic, right? So people kind of refound things that they were passionate about.
It's true. I fully believe that 100%, because in a way you're able to rediscover your hobbies and turn them in. So many people have turned them into careers, which...
Well, and a lot of people, again, had to do that out of necessity, right? They lost their jobs for whatever reason. So then rediscovering their passion and realizing, you know, this is a viable option to start a business as well.
Have you ever heard that old saying? I know so many people that said, I can't do that as a job because I can't do my passion as a job because then I'm not going to like it. And they don't realize that it actually can really open your mind.
Exactly.
And can take you in so many different places.
Well, with any kind of job, right?
Like,
There's going to be parts of it that you just
for sure
are not really in love with, right? Anything that you do, but
well, did you think you were going to be a teacher?
No, never, never in a million years. So even just being here for the podcast, right? Like I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person. I don't really like to be in your face. So being in front of a classroom, and because I had been doing my career for so long, like cracking open a textbook and teaching from a textbook was really like, how do I do this, right? Like I just know how to do the things. I don't follow I follow some rules, but I kind of like just know what I'm doing and don't use a textbook for that. So that was also kind of scary, but
I can imagine.
Students are really receptive, right? That first semester is kind of like getting to know everyone, but then once I know them, it just becomes like a conversation basically.
I know you guys at Sinclair are doing a fashion show coming up.
We have a fashion show coming up.
Yearly?
Yeah, so we do it yearly. It's in April sometime usually. Like at the end of the semester. So the point of the fashion show is to feature the work of the students. So mainly we're focusing on our graduating students that are coming up to their second year. So they create a mini collection, at least 3 different outfits or 3 different complete looks. And then we also have some of the first year, like top 10 garments as well featured in the show.
Oh, that's got to be exciting
and
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's a little bit anxiety-inducing, but...
well, because we're recording this it's February 28th, and it's coming up in April?
It's April 20th is the date, yes.
Are they going crazy yet?
A little bit. So our second year students right now they're just wrapping up their first outfit. Well, it's due on Friday, I think, this week. And then they are kind of in the middle of, so they kind of have to work on multiple outfits at once. So as we're just finishing up outfit number 1 and stitching it up, they're working on the pattern and sort of like doing all their fittings for their outfit number 2. And then the pattern will be due next week. So it's just like, it's like a real experience, right? So having to juggle those various deadlines, right? So right now I'm sort of like trying to wrap up fall, working on getting spring ready all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I always tell them, you're working on development for one season, and you're also working on like a whole, like doing all the production for the next season all at the same time. So you have to really juggle all those things all at once.
I think the Paris fashion show is this week, and it's for fall winter.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I can't believe how far they come.
I'm a little bit late, but because I'm doing such a small run.
Oh, you got a lot going on. You're allowed to be a little late.
I do. And any of those bigger brands, right, the way that they operate is a little bit different. So they're producing, up to, when they started producing was probably a year before the fall. So they probably started producing things and sampling and doing all their pattern work, figuring out their fabrics a year before fall, basically.
They also have a huge crew.
And they have to, because they're producing so many. So with mine, I'm trying to produce closer to the season. It gives me a little more flexibility too, because then I can see what kind of trends come out. Like they're not going to know what the TikTok trends are, right? Because in the moment they're going to have to rely on using trend forecasting, things like that, and trying to make their best guess. And they're producing so much more, so they need more timeline to be able to do that. Yeah,
I like the idea of having it a little closer, like you, and that way, like you said, you can see.
Who wants to? I mean, we had some unseasonably warm weather recently, so maybe we're thinking a little bit about spring, but no one really wants to shop for spring in February, right? They want to shop in like April, May, like as the season is actually coming.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, you still have that holiday weight to get rid of, and you don't want to curse it and end up in a snowstorm.
Exactly, right? So I think people want to see the fashion sooner because we just have this always wanting to see newness, right? And freshness, but at the same time, we're not ready to shop it yet. We just want to see it, so.
This is true.
Yeah.
Now, the fashion show that's coming up in April.
Yes, it's April 20th.
And where's it going to be located?
It's at St. Clair College in the Student Life Center. So a few years ago, they opened up this great center. It's really good for events. So we host it there. Usually the doors open at 7. Show starts around 8 o'clock. Tickets, I believe, are going to go on sale pretty soon. So by the time this comes out, they'll probably already be on sale. So usually around the beginning of March.
Okay.
On Eventbrite, so you can check it out there. If you check out the SCC Fashion and St. Clair Fashion, various social media sites, also there'll be some announcements there, and I'll try to also on my own social media make sure that I post about it upcoming.
We'll make sure to have it out there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's great that we have up and coming, sewers and possible fashion designers in this area. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, because, Windsor's not really a fashion mecca, hopefully it will become.
Hey, and we've been doing so many changes, and we're doing so good that you never know.
And I think by having a school and sending graduates out into the world, that will also, and then by each of us as instructors, doing our own thing, I think that's going to hopefully bring a little more fashion to this area and create some jobs in that area as well, too.
That would be a great idea. And
Definitely.
I know the classes are like blowing up with students. There's so many of them. So I don't see why we can't add this to the mix as well and just become our own little mecca. And as somebody said, no longer be the armpit of Ontario.
Right. Well, and you talk about the media arts program as well. So we also, we not only use our fashion students, but we also try to utilize other groups at the college as well too. So the graphic design students, they create the all the graphics for our posters for the fashion show, any of the social media, images and things like that. We work with the tech people there. Trying to think who else we work with, like hairstyling and makeup and aesthetics. We also work with them. So it's a really nice way to be able to bring all these different kind of departments together.
Will they be recording it as well for you?
Yeah. So I don't know all of the details for that because I'm not really involved in that.
Okay.
But usually on one of the local cable outlets, they do post it. And then we have our own website for the fashion show as well too. I think it's SCC Atelier, something like that. I should have looked that up before I came.
That's okay.
If you look up St. Clair Fashion Design, you'll find the website. Usually there's a live stream as well too of the fashion show. So if you can't make it out to the show, hopefully you can. Right, it's better in person, but you can always check out the live stream there as well too. And then usually a little bit later on, they'll compile a video, right, and put together all the various clips. We do have what's called off the runway interviews. So we usually employ like a student in like maybe the journalism program and have them come and ask each of the individual designers questions about their inspiration, their collection, what they're looking forward to. Right. Yeah. So it's nice. So there's usually clips of that as well too. Yeah.
It sounds like fun. I can't wait to go.
I know,
I'm
right? I can't wait to have you there.
That's great. Well, Lori, I really appreciate you being on here today, and make sure that you check out Auden Steward, and it's Auden Steward Clothier.
Yes,
on Instagram or Auden Steward.
Auden.Steward on Facebook. It's hard. Sometimes you can't find the name that you want, right? So, yes.
Yeah. And again, I want to thank you so much for joining us for another episode of YKG in Bloom. My name is Tracy Martins. You guys all have a fabulous day.